Well, I've grabbed the camera off the stand so I could share with you an update with the new Fender FR-12 that came in just yesterday, and also the new pedal configuration. So I've taken the Fender Deluxe Reverb out of this equation to video. You can see how my little creative production area is, but I also want to talk about the pedal configuration on the two new pedals here. And I say new pedals, these are my production pedals. The silver one is more designed for studio work just because of its heft. It has two power supplies on it, so it's a board that's quite stout and has basically everything. You can see that at First American Joyo pedal that I got there as a gift a couple months ago from the Boho Cowboy himself. But then a Nobles and the compressor, phaser, tremolo, reverb, delay, and of course the GE7 into the Boss IR-7. There's the pedal on the other side, there's a buffer. Then that would power out into the loop station if I want to, but that one stays in the house. But let's talk about these two right here. These two boards, as you can see, are very, very, very similar. And right now, this would be the second live rig, which is just a duplication of this one for the most part. So what I have done is I have rewired everything to make sure there's the appropriate power going to all these pedals, because off of the power supply up underneath there, which is a what is the company? Oh heck, I forgot the name of the company, but of course anyway, it's a power supply, about a $50 power supply that has the right milliamps for everything that I'm needing, and that's the big secret when you're doing this stuff. But let's talk about what we have here. Peterson tuner into a booster, into a Nobles, and then this board is interesting because the time effects from the phaser to the new Hydra, which is a tremolo reverb, into the Atlantics, which is a reverb delay. Both of these are tap tempos. They go now into the effect sends of that Boss IR-200, where as soon as we come out of this Nobles into that Nobles, then we go directly across into a compressor, into the GE7, then directly to the input, and then out to the amplifier, or into the loop pedal and the AB, whatever I'm going to be doing. Of course, then I have to pick up power on this side that is coming from the power supply that's lit up down there to a volume pedal. This is a volume wah pedal made by Vox, and then there would be, over here would be my Shure GLXD for wireless live stuff. So when we leave this going to the second thing, which is the first pedal, we would go into the Peterson. Then we would hit this RC booster, which is two stages of gain right in itself. And then from there into the Nobles, and then Nobles straight across here, Nobles into the compressor, compressor into GE7. Then from there we go down into the phaser to the Hydra into the Atlantics, and then hit into the front end of the the IR-200. And the reason I'm showing you all this right here is just so you can see the method to the madness. One of them is using the effect sends and the time-based stuff effects, and the other one's not. Just a like down here, just a straight run of everything. So what I'm going to do is, I have not tested either of these pedals, so I want to test this pedal that's lit up here. So let's shut this camera off real quick. I'll grab a guitar and let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, I've got the Boss IR-200 on the the preset 001 with the gain, or excuse me, the level is just at 100%, and that's the only adjustment I've made. So here is the amplifier at about 9 o'clock. Everything is straight up on that FR-12 cabinet, and here's the sound. Preset 001 comes with a little bit of Hall reverb on there. I like it. I don't take it off. So that'd be our bass sound as we go from pedal to pedal. And one thing I do have to do when I'm using this particular rig is that I have to turn on the effects send loop, and I haven't figured out how to keep it on globally, but what you do is you go into menu, into memory, input, go to the second page, send and return, on, then exit. Now we should hear some kind of delay. Yep, there you go. So it's on. If you don't do that, of course, then nothing's going to work. But let's just go through it one more time. We're going to exit out of here so we can see the 001. Yeah, so. Humbucker side, here's a single coil. So the Boss IR-200, just great by itself. But let's see what starts happening as we start adding stuff. So let's have the start with the wah. Super, which is also a volume pedal. Okay, hit the spark. Give it a little bit more juice. Into the first Nobles pedal. Just want a little drive right there. Wow. Turn it down just a little bit. I don't know that the cameras are picking this up, but that FR-12 closed back cabinet provides that little extra oomph. I've been talking to Brother Darren at Guitar Everyone about this, and he just received his, so he's going to be able to provide some wonderful insight to all those people that watch his channel, first of all, as you should, Guitar Everyone on YouTube, and number two, just to have a comparison to what I'm telling you, because Brother Darren's going to be the only other person I know that has one that's on YouTube that I know personally. I know other people have them, I just don't know them personally. And Mr. Rock and Rob Garza, who I play with on Thursday nights and also with the Coconut Cowboys, has one. So he doesn't have a YouTube channel, but I'll tell you what, we're talking, one thing we're noticing is that projection, that kick that gives that little oof that you can hear. Hit that booster in front. Let's throw some verb on, see what happens. You know what? Forget that. Let's do that in tremolo. Gets that big reverb on there. The reason I love to have these, in this case, is 3 reverbs on board, and at any one time, all 3 are playing. You know, especially for that country stuff that I love to do, like the steel guitar stuff. Especially if you do it in the right key. That's great sounding to me. I just love it. And here's the reverb off the New X. A little bit less on that, maybe. Then delay, tap tempo delay, or let's see if we get something nice like. It's working. Okay, let's go up to the phaser. The Old Habits by Hank Jr., my gosh. That phaser has a little bit of dirt in it, and although it's a nice sound and it serves its purpose live, it's a little bit gritty for me. At some point I might change that out, but for what it is, it's working fine. So with that said, let's go up to the second ODR. I use that one to have a little bit more gain structure over the first one. When you take that delay, and if the compressor's set right, which this is cranking right this second, so that ain't gonna work. So if you did, both ODRs on. Let's try the spark in front of that. Working pretty good, working real good. All right, then, of course, the Tom Bukovac'S secret of all secrets right there. Man, I have to tell you, I have ripped off Tom's concepts, and why wouldn't you listen to somebody who has that kind of experience? You know, for me, these pedals, this whole pedal journey, when I played with the Drifting Cowboys, you know, I'm playing Hank Williams music, so what was I needing? I was needing an amplifier, a chord, and a guitar, and to be in tune. That was it, and that's what I had. No joke. I used to play through both a Mesa Boogie Mark II-B clean on the road, and also later on I got a Nashville 400 and big 15 in it. White Tolex cover, really cool amplifier. Still have it, both of those amps I have. But I didn't need anything but playing with the Cowboys, because what are you playing? Well, you're playing that Hank Williams music, you know, that old country music, and what you needed to provide for those guys was pretty simple. You know, what they wanted was, yeah, my bucket's got a hole in it. Yeah, my bucket got a hole. Yeah, my bucket's got a hole in it. Can't buy no beer. Very clean, basic, foundational sound. So when I started recording in the early 90s, it was a direct scenario. I wasn't using amplifiers. So by that time I had a Digitech Pro GSP Pro 21, then later an A5 Korg and an A3 Korg, and then would go through that whole phase of having several of those kind of units where you'd walk into a session and what you would supply is just the access to the left and rights. A lot of stereo recordings in those days, but no amplifier. So years later, you know, as I started playing more live stuff and not necessarily the old traditional stuff as much, enter all this. So this is a very new journey for me. And you know, Mr. Bukovac said something pretty interesting on his very last episode. I'm not not sure what the date is on it. I'll have to put it in the description. But he was talking about tube amplifiers. And listen, I love a tube amplifier, but I'm not going to ever own one again. I will never have one with me to take and travel with ever. And for the same simple reason that Tom Bukovac said what he said on that video of his, at the very end of that video, he said, I forget whatever amount he had, even if he said the amount, but Tom's owns some amplifiers and still owns a bunch of amplifiers, tube vintage stuff, and he said 60% of his stuff is not working. Now that's not my words, folks, that's his words. And for whatever reasons they're not working, one of the reasons obviously is that tubes need a lot of maintenance. And I'm not telling you that these setups here, these solid states can't break, because obviously they can. But my gosh, man, the maintenance on tube amplifiers, especially vintage stuff, I don't care anything about it. So all that to say, coming back into the ball game after all these years live, this is like the perfect combination, things that kind of get close to my ears. That sounds so incredibly like a tube amplifier. And if it doesn't, I'm not playing for my fellow musician. I could care less what my fellow musician thinks. You know, I don't try to appease my fellow musician who's sitting out there criticizing tonality. I'm not doing that. I'm playing for beautiful people that want to be entertained with something familiar to their ears. So that's my primary thing. Number two, this stuff that I'm using has over the last several years been just fine for Grammy award winning producers and the artists that they're doing things for. So listen, don't take my word for it, but you can if you want to. I got no reason to tell you a fib about this stuff. That said, let's try that GE7. Puts it up there. Little compressor, more of it a boost really. You take that right there. A little slop on the hands today, but a little stiff, but okay, good. So I'm going to shut this down really quick and plug in the other one. This one's tested out good, and we're going to use the same foundational bass sound of preset 001 off this other IR-200 that's on this other second pedal, and we're going to see what that sounds like.